What happens when the scariest film on Netflix that only 13% of viewers can actually finish is based on a true story? The only right answer is you obviously finish the movie no matter how scary it is, and then you look into the real case. I'm talking about the 2017 Spanish horror movie Veronica, which is labeled the scariest movie on Netflix. So I was one of the 13% that actually finished the movie, but let me just say it was incredibly scary. Like nightmare fuel, make you scared to fall asleep type scary. But I recently found out that this story wasn't just made up. It was based on the real case of Estefania Gutierrez Lazaro. She mysteriously died in 1991 after a seance in which she played with a Ouija board. She lived for only 6 months after playing with the Ouija board, and what she experienced in that time frame is bone-chilling. Some people believe her, some are still skeptical. So let's talk about it, and you can decide for yourself. The movie Veronica follows a teenager named Veronica and her 2 friends, and it takes place in 1991 Madrid. In the film, Veronica's dad has died, and one of her friend's boyfriends has also passed away. So what do? All 3 of them play with a Ouija board at school. You know, the only logical answer. But after this, Veronica ends up possessed by a demonic entity that is hell-bent on torturing her and those closest to her. This movie was a slow burn, but it genuinely freaked me out. The director, Paco Plaza, got his inspiration from the real possession of Estefania Gutierrez Lazaro. And surprisingly, the movie is pretty similar to what she actually experienced. And let me just start off by saying, even if you don't believe in stuff like this is the only case in Spain where a police officer actually investigated. And then he sat down and wrote in his police report that he 100% witnessed paranormal phenomena. So do with that information as you will. Anyways, this is Estefania. She was only 18 years old when she suddenly and very mysteriously died in 1991. She lived in the Vallecas neighborhood of Spain, and by all accounts, her life was pretty normal. Estefania had lots of friends and 5 siblings, so she was always surrounded by lots of people. In 1990, her estranged grandfather was on his deathbed. Now, her grandpa hated his family, but he whispered his last words ever to Estefania, and some people think this is where her haunting began. He told her, quote, "If I cannot harm you in this life, I will do it in the next one." End quote. Estefania and her siblings really didn't want to go and see him, but her parents thought that it was the right thing to do. Fast forward a few months later. This is when one of Estefania's closest friend's boyfriends passed away suddenly in a motorcycle accident. It was very tragic and hard to process for everyone inside that friend group. But Estefania had an idea. She thought that if she got a Ouija board, maybe they could all have a seance and try to contact her friend's late boyfriend. So they did. But almost immediately, things went horribly wrong. They held the seance at their school, so it was Estefania and her 2 closest friends, and according to them, unsettling and unexplained things happened right off the bat. The glass pointer on the Ouija board began to spin around untouched on the board until it eventually shattered to pieces. They never got the chance to contact her friend's late boyfriend because, out of nowhere, the Ouija board started emitting this unnatural smoke, even though it wasn't on fire. Estefania was the only one who sat too close and accidentally inhaled some of this strange smoke, and after this, nothing would ever be the same. A nun at the school ended up catching them and broke the board, but it didn't take long for everyone to notice something strange about Estefania. She would start having violent convulsions where her whole body went rigid, and her eyes would either go completely black or completely white. During these episodes, she would foam at the mouth. She also began experiencing terrifying visions of dark figures roaming her bedroom and almost controlling her. She would randomly attack her family members or bark at them, and then she would black out and have no memory of what just took place. She said these dark shadows would torment her. She could no longer sleep at night, and if she did, she would wake up standing completely upright, scratching the walls. It got so bad that her fingers were bloody. Estefania declined very quickly over the next 6 months, both physically and mentally, and it really scared her family. They had no idea how to help her, so they started by having a doctor examine her. All of her symptoms could be connected to epilepsy, but multiple doctors examined her, and none of them found any underlying physical or cognitive condition. She was never even diagnosed with epilepsy. When doctors couldn't help her, the family turned to priests, but they couldn't help either. One of the very last things that she ever said was that the demons were begging her to come with them. And sadly, just 6 months after the seance and playing with the Ouija board, Estefania mysteriously died. Her autopsy report only stated cardiac arrest as her cause of death, and outside of that, the medical report said, quote, "sudden and suspicious death." End quote. You'd think that would be the end of the story, but no. it doesn't end there. For over a year after Estefania died, her family would continue to be haunted. The house itself became a hotspot for paranormal activity, and somehow it progressed even worse. The family would constantly hear someone scream and laugh in the home, and on several occasions, they would open Estefania's bedroom door, only to find it destroyed. All of her belongings were strewn all over the place. All of the doors and windows in the house would open and slam shut on their own, and deep scratches would mysteriously appear all over the walls. Every single family member saw a black figure crawling around their house in an unnatural way. Furniture was destroyed, appliances would go on and off, and I think one of the scariest things they experienced was a photo of Estefania mysteriously falling off the wall. When they went to pick it up, they found that the picture itself had been burned, while the picture frame was completely intact and undamaged. Every crucifix they had in the house would flip upside down without anyone touching it. The events eventually got so bad that the family actually called the police because they didn't know what else to do. 4 officers came out to the home, and to their surprise, they found the entire family huddled together outside. This made the hair on the back of their necks stand up because it was in the dead of night and it was freezing outside, and one of them even had a newborn with them. So for them to be standing outside like that, they must have been really scared. When the officers went inside, they said they immediately felt like something was seriously wrong. They heard loud banging in the house, even though they were the only ones inside. And while they were looking at a wardrobe, the doors started violently opening and closing right in front of them when no one was touching it. The officers also found this unexplained brown residue on a nightstand that appeared right before their eyes, which some have later said was ectoplasm. Before long, 2 of the officers went back outside and refused to come back in, leaving only 2 of them to continue investigating. The remaining officers noticed cold spots all over the house and occasionally the smell of rotten meat. After their investigation, the police officers left, unable to help this family. But the craziest part is that when the lead officer went back to the station to file his incident report, he actually wrote that he 100% witnessed paranormal phenomena. I think that's the most insane thing about this case. This possession is the only police report in Spain that recorded paranormal events. So whether or not you believe in the paranormal, I just wanted to point this out because I think it's so rare to have actual police officers back people up in cases like this. Eventually, the family couldn't take living here any longer, and they eventually sold their house. What's odd though is that the new owners never heard or experienced anything paranormal after the family left. So this leads me to question, was it really the house that was haunted, or was it the family? I know a lot of people will say that her death was due to an undiagnosed medical condition, which if I'm being honest, I can see that being true. But it is super weird to me that all of this only started happening after she played with the Ouija board. I don't know. What do you guys think? Was she really possessed, or was something else at play? Nonetheless, it inspired this movie. Have you guys seen it? Because it scared the crap out of me the first time I watched it. I think it scared me because it did a good job instilling me with dread and anxiety. But I'm also just a chicken when it comes to possession movies. It scored 86% on Rotten Tomatoes though, which is pretty good. I think any film that says based on a true story at the beginning can be terrifying, but it hits different when you know that it actually was.